Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni muli wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville, in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted and so very honored that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show. Please also be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher Radio, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Julie Woik. She is here to celebrate her beautiful series. It's called Lilly The Lash. Before we invite Julie into the studio, we want to invite all the authors and aspiring authors that are listening to the show to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Once you get there, please click on the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page. You'll be able to learn how you can be a guest here on the podcast. Imagine being able to sit down in a long-form conversation and tell the world about your beautiful children's book. What inspired you to write it? What inspired you to become an author, and what plans you have for the future. It's a really wonderful way to build awareness of your book and also build your brand. We also want you to check out our Certified Great Read program. If our panel believes that your book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a Certified Great Read. And that is an incredibly powerful marketing tool for your book. You can also learn about our monthly promotion program. We'll promote your book with commercials here on the podcast, with messages to our over 100,000 social media followers, and also display your book at whatever event we'll be participating in a given month. In February, we're going to be at the PTO Today Expo in beautiful Edison, New Jersey. Check all that out by going to readingwithyourkids.com and clicking on the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page. Join us right now from the very sunny and today pretty chilly state of Florida. Our guest today is here to celebrate her Lilly The Lash series. Please welcome to the show, Julie Woik. Hey, Julie, how are you?
Hi, Jed. I'm fabulous. I'm cold, but it's okay.
That's okay. Julie and I were talking a little bit about dealing with extreme temperatures, and in Florida, 60 is an extremely cold temperature. I'm learning.
Sadly, that is true.
So tell us all about Lilly the Lash.
Well, Lilly is an eyelash fairy. In the books, and I go into it in every book, so you can buy them in any order. You don't have to start with number 1. But I explained to you that Lilly lived on my eye as a little girl, teaching me to see the beauty in the world, to see the beauty within myself, and to see the right way to make good choices and be a good person. But when I'm 8 years old, we both realized that she's got to go teach the whole world because everybody needs to learn these lessons. So in every episode, she leaves me and heads off onto her adventure. And in every book, she goes to a different location to teach a different character a different life lesson. She's only seen by the reader. Nobody knows she's there. She goes into the environment. She stands back to see what's going on and try to figure out what the problem is. Once she figures it out, she writes a plan. And in that plan, she writes to bring in another character into that character who needs to learn the lessons life. And then at that point, they have to learn the lesson themselves. She can't help you do that. Life is like that. We always have to learn the lesson ourselves. But once that lesson is learned, Lilly turns back into an eyelash once in every episode, and that's when she then sprinkles that character with their own special eyelash so that it can help them see all what the future will bring to them by following good character, having strong self-esteem, making good choices, all of those things.
Now, an eyelash fairy. Now, is Lilly, is she there because she just kind of opens up her eyes to see what she's trying to tell you?
That's pretty much exactly the thing. This was all an accident. I didn't ask to be an author. I got a D- in English in high school, so this was not my plan for my bucket list. But I had been worried about a friend of mine who had some issues going on. I went to bed heavy-hearted, and I woke up in the middle of the night, walking on my way to the girls' room, and I wiped my cheek, and an eyelash was on my finger. And as soon as I looked at it, there was a poem that filled my head, and it was about Lilly the Lash. And the first part of it, I was supposed to look back and see how I met this friend. Then I was supposed to see how I was going to help her through this tough time. And last but not least, how was I going to help her see that even if it didn't turn out the way she was planning, that it was going to be okay. She had value. She still had reason for being here. So I wrote the poem. I was going to give her the poem for her birthday, and someone who worked at a large publishing house overheard part of the poem through a conversation and said, wow, Julie, this is like better than 99% of the stuff that comes across my desk. You have to do something with this. And I remember just kind of laughing, thinking, well, okay, no, because I have no intention of doing anything like that. And then a few days later, it just filled me, and I have no other word for it. It just filled my soul. And I said to my husband, it's really strange. I met this woman the other day, and this is what she said. And that's how this all began.
Wow.
So it's very odd, unusual way. And so then it was like, okay, how do you bring across an eyelash to not be odd, to not almost be kind of weird? And it was all majorly in illustration. Mm-hmm. My writing is in rhyme. It's very, very meaningful. People love that it's ever so endearing and draws that reader in. But the illustrations are gorgeous. Mark Tobin is absolutely spectacular, and he just creates the most realistic, amazing illustrations, and that really helps the child stay with the books and want to turn the page. So that has a big part to do with it.
Wow. What an amazing origin story for Lilly the Lash.
The thought an eyelash would be saving our world. I always say, I don't know about, it's perhaps Lilly the Lash for president, because she's on a roll. We're almost about to print book 7, which is about responsibility. So, got to get those lessons out there.
Yeah, we got to open up our politicians' eyes and make sure they're not leaving documents where they shouldn't be leaving them.
Or anything anywhere. I mean, we just need to be working together. And I just wish our government would work together as a team instead of this all division stuff. I know that that's really hard to say. And I know that there's all sorts of different ways to look at it. But, you know, we need to, almost like when you're working with a child and they say, you know, it takes a village. Well, our world, it takes all of us to understand how someone else might be feeling as well to get things to happen. Yeah. You know, I don't want to enable people either. We have to be able to take control of our lives and be in control of that. But sometimes we have to help them find that.
Well, you know, it's funny. No, it's not funny. It's like really, really sad that we're at a point in our culture where we're almost afraid to say, oh, our politicians should learn how to work together. I mean,
I think people are afraid to do that.
You know,
I'm not. Yeah. I sincerely believe that they all have stories to tell and they all are storytellers. But I don't think they plan to do that. I don't think that's their initial intention. I think often many of them are really trying that. They want to help their communities. They want to do better. And then I think you get involved with these different things that pull you different directions, and then it becomes something else. And I just feel like, okay, I get that to some degree, but we need to work together as a team far more than what we're doing, because it's just not healthy for all of us. Yeah. So.
You make a really good point, and I hope you don't mind us staying with this for a moment, because
Absolutely.
One of the things you said is something that I don't think anybody thinks about today, that you believe sincerely that everybody, no matter what side of the aisle they're on, has a good intention. They're not out to look to hurt anybody. They want to do the best for their constituency. I believe they want to do the best for the country, but they are looking at the world. They're looking at problems from different perspectives. They do have different forces pulling them this way or that. But I think so much more can be accomplished if we all could take a breath and say, okay, I disagree with this person, but I think deep down we have the same goal. We want to make this country a more perfect place.
Yes. And I, even as like parenting too, I think, you can say, oh, well, that person's not a good parent. They're a druggie or they're an alcoholic or they've been in jail. Parents, I don't think, start out to want to ruin their children and ruin their lives and ruin their family and be looked at like that in the community. But things do happen to people, but I do believe they're trying their hardest. And so we even need to help that too. We need to help people to bring them up to help them feel better. Again, you do have to take responsibility for your actions. You do have to step up to the plate. I'm not going to keep helping you if you aren't going to help yourself, because that's not going to work. I can't save you. But I do believe that their intention is good from the beginning. And, I'm worried about these children for the future. I'm worried about what is going on in their, lives. And I need them to have strong self-esteem, so that if they can have that strong self-esteem through good character, that then they are going to grow to be a good community member, a good family member, a good business owner. And it is going to matter, because their intent is what we need to make our world a better place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You told us about the Lilly's origin story. What about you? Where does this passion to help and inspire kids come from?
Well, my sister worked in psychiatry from before I was even of age. And so I was always reading her books. I quit drinking when I was 17. I realized that was not going to be a thing for me, that I was going down the wrong path. So I started reading a lot of books about, becoming stable and having my own good self-esteem and self-worth and building that. And from that, I got involved in psychiatry. I worked in that business for 12 years. I got to work with everything from 9-year-old, children to 85-year-old, maybe Alzheimer's patients. And the amount of information you gather from people who are struggling. And I came from an extremely loving, safe, caring environment. And when I started working in that field, I realized very quickly that, wow, when you don't have that environment to grow in the beginning and being told you're loved and you're safe and you're secure and you have food on the table and your heater works and all of that. And then all of a sudden I was seeing people that were telling me about their backgrounds that, in many cases, not in all, but in many cases struggled in different ways from different reasons, abuses or just, mental or emotional disabilities type things. I just felt that the more I encouraged them and the more I lifted them up and the more I helped them see about their own self-worth, and even if their thing that they were doing in their life was minimal compared to the person next to them or somebody that they know that, is running for mayor. You don't need to run for mayor. You need to have little steps that make you feel like you're worthy. And then those steps are going to lead to more steps. And then in the meantime, you can also pull people up. When you feel good about yourself, you have no reason to feel jealousy. When you feel good about yourself, you have no reason to look down on someone. You have this inkling to only want to pick people up because you feel good inside. And I just want that for every child. I want that for every person. And it starts when you're young. It starts when you're little. It starts with being, responsible at home with chores. And it starts with, taking care of, your other brothers and sisters and being good to them and helping them with maybe their homework. These things are little. They don't seem like they matter, but they matter.
Yeah. Well, they certainly do matter. And, what you're describing coming from a loving family that was supportive of you, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to guess that, your family spent a fair amount of time when you were young reading with you.
Reading and being with us. Mm-hmm. I am all for, women growing and doing well and having equal pay and that type of thing. But my mom was around a lot. My mom and dad were around a lot. I was lucky. They owned a gas station, for starters, that was only 5 buildings away from our home. My mom could come home at any time if she needed to. They only worked then 2 miles away. They at some point worked in factories as well and only worked 2 miles away. So, when us kids came home from school, for the most part, my mom at least was there. And, that helps too. Having someone, doesn't have to be a mom, but to have a caretaker, have a babysitter, have a nanny. Grandma and grandpa are big on my list. So if you have those people in your life helping you to grow and make you feel, again, safe and secure, your decision making it's just better. Your decision making is so much better. So I want these kids to feel that. And so I feel like reading with, children and that bonding that you do when you're sitting with them, doing activities with them, and then when you read to a child and then they read to you at that point, then when they're there, and then they're like pointing out all these things. And I just went to a home of a child who I was checking on, and I went and read with a couple books with her. And then when she was reading some of these big words, she was so proud, and she looked at me and she was so excited that she knew these big words, because I have words that are, the librarian said to me, don't dumb down. Don't get me wrong. They're not philosophical, oh my God, 400 characters, but they're words that have meaning, and they're words that are bigger than just do, is, the, and yeah. So I think that it builds their pride and it builds their confidence. It helps them with ideas. When you're a reader, you think out of the box. When you're reading, you think about that location and you put yourself there. And that's just cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love your passion, and you shared with us that book 7 in the Lilly the Lash series is about to come out. What topics are we addressing in the first 6?
The first one is called The Garden Gathering. It's about self-worth. The second one is called The Toy Store. It's about sharing and friendship. The third one is called Ocean Commotion, and it's about honesty. The fourth one is called The Cackling Kitchen, and it's about respect. The fifth one is called Jungle Jive. It's about balance. And the sixth one is Art with Heart, and it's about confidence. Jealousy that causes her to lose her confidence. I really, really wanted to make sure that at some point I covered what jealousy can do to you, so children can understand that, because even adults struggle with that. When you don't feel good inside, you have jealousy that comes to the head. And I need you to understand, I need that child to understand that jealousy is being brought on because you're not feeling the confidence yourself. Once you feel confidence, you're going to want to lift others up, and you're not going to be concerned about feeling, jealous of what they're doing. You're going to want to help them. You're going to want to help them to grow and do better. And I just feel that that's a big issue that's, I wanted to tackle.
Yeah, well, I think that's a huge issue, especially now, not so much with 5-year-olds, but certainly when kids, and they're getting into social media younger and younger and younger. But one of the things that we're hearing is that tweens and teens that are on social media are experiencing a lot of anxiety and depression. And I think what we don't hear in the quote unquote experts talking about this issue is we don't hear the word jealousy. Because what's going on with a lot of those kids is they're looking at these perfect people on Instagram. They're incredibly jealous. They're insecure. They look at themselves and I don't look like that. I want to look like that. We used to use the word jealous a lot. We don't seem to use it anymore. But helping our kids understand, number one, that all 99% of the images that you're seeing on social media are not real. that's, they have a stylist and great photography and all this other stuff out there, and it's not real. But more than that, you're not seeing yourself. You're not seeing the real you. You're not seeing the beauty inside of you. And I love the idea of building up our kids' confidence, helping them know that you might not look like that person online, but you are a beautiful person inside. You are caring. You're responsible. You're doing these wonderful things for our family. You're intelligent. That's what makes you beautiful, not this facade.
And I even say in towards the end of the book, when it's Pibbledy Pencil, she is jealous of Bellamy Brush because Pibble creates black and white pencil drawings and Bellamy creates colored paintings that are gorgeous. And Pibble at some point literally breaks the chains and breaks out of the chains of this jealousy. And towards the end, I state in there that when you are losing that confidence or you feel like it's slipping away, because I'm somebody who's very confident. My self-esteem is quite intact. But there are days that you wake up and, oh boy, bad hair day. Or you just don't feel, something's a little off and you can feel that way. Go check with those who love you. Go talk to mom and dad. Go talk to grandma and grandpa. Ask your friends, how do you like this, drawing that I did? What do you think of it? And if they love you, they're not going to say, oh, it's horrible. They're going to say, oh, well, it's, great, but maybe you could add this, or, wow, it is really good. You're really good at this. Keep drawing. So the people who love you are going to encourage you and make you get back on track with feeling confident in what you're doing. Even if it's not the best product that you've created, that they're going to say to you, wow, this is great, but you know what? I love that dragon. You are so good at dragons. Why don't you keep drawing that? You imagine this wonderful stuff and use colors so great. So I do want children to understand that we need to check in with family and friends, that those are the ones that are going to support us.
Yeah. Yeah. So very important. And I think it's equally important for us as parents. I think one of the real benefits that I don't think we've talked about here on the podcast is when we take the time to sit down and read with our kids, especially our older kids, especially those kids who, like you said, can read to us. When we take the time, that's a great time to kind of check in on them, to see how they're doing, to see if
absolutely
maybe their confidence is a little shaken lately, and and you can tell by the way your kid is sitting next to you. Maybe they're leaning on you a little bit heavier than normal. Well, they need my support a little bit more, so I'm going to hold them a little bit closer and remind them of how special they are and how much I love when they do this or that.
I think it's a completely whole thing. It's not just reading. When I just went to this gal's house and they were having some issues, so my friend said, Julie, would you come and can you, sit with her and help her understand how important reading is? And when we were reading these books and stuff, she was right on top of me, right on my side. We were all snuggled up with her, big old, unicorn, stuffed animal. And we absolutely not only read, but talked about good choices, how we can feel good about ourselves, that when we make these choices, we have to be careful if we're affecting ourselves or others or the environment, how all of these things and all of these lessons in these books that are not just mine, all books that have stuff, that content that we can be learning from, they matter. And so that is the perfect time to be talking with that child and to be connecting, because they're going to tell you things because they're not on the defense. Mm-hmm. They're just there to, you're just looking at a book. You're reading a book. You're talking about, how pretty that flower is. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I saw this flower the other day at school and, somebody picked it and then they stomped on it. And then that made me scared, boom, things come out that you weren't even thinking, was going to happen. Yeah. And that's a major connection, that binding and bonding of that time of when you're spending with that child discussing whatever it is that you guys are reading together. Super important.
So important. So important. Hey, another thing that's important? is letting people know where they can find out more about you and find out more about Lilly the Lash.
Well, they probably want to go on my website because there is no code, there is no key, there is no catch. When you go on the website, you're in, and you can print anything from the website, even if you don't own a book or anything. We don't care. Everything is free for people to print from the website of our free activities. And it's www.lillythelash.com. And Lilly is LILLYTHELASH.com. So Lilly is LILLY, and then she's an eyelash. So lillythelash.com. So it's as simple as that. But there is a podcast on there as well. That's a puppet that children write Lilly a letter about a concern or a good deed. She gets to talk to them about that letter. She reads that letter, and then she either praises the good deed and says, "Hey, good job, Joey," or "Oh, don't worry, Susie. I'm afraid of the dark too. Here are some things that you can do." So it's a great way for parents and educators to be able to talk to a child about, watch the podcast, and then talk about it. Then talk about, just like you were saying, to be able to discuss, well, that child was afraid of the dark too. Have you ever been afraid of the dark? Well, how does that, how'd you get away from that? So it just helps them to unleash that. So yeah, we have a board game that's motivational, that children actually do good deeds and make good choices. And as they do that, they get small rewards, 3 small rewards, and then a bigger reward at the end. And it's the parent or the grandparent or educator's board game. They make the rewards. They make the reasons that you're moving forward on the path. And they're all free.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We've had a really fun and inspiring time speaking to the author of Lilly the Lash. It's a great series from our guest, Julie Woik. Julie, thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, darling. This has been wonderful.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Emma Carson Byrne. She'll be here to celebrate books by horseback. It's a fascinating interview about a librarian who traveled through Appalachia delivering books to needy families by horseback. I'll be joined in the interview by our amazingly talented intern from last semester, Mirabella Q. That's on the next episode of the podcast. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guest, Julie Woik. Please be sure to check out Lilly the Lash. Also want to thank my fantastic team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Jordan Saley, Stephanie Davila, Will Cheever, Cassandra Masonet, Sabrina Wu. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.